Gee, who would have thunk? The worst college football program in America for producing quarterbacks is Ohio State University. And you didn't know how to coach Joe Burrow. Go figure. You told him to go somewhere else. You ever think of that? Sean goes like this. Jalen threw 4K with Ridley. Yeah, and then he lost his job and was fired. How does a guy that throws for 4K with Ridley lose his job? Because 2 is better? How? He surely wasn't more durable. Jalen was the Southeastern Conference Player of the Year. Lost in a national title game. Shouldn't he have had a chance to keep his job? Oh. Nick Saban in Alabama failed Hurts. But what did Hurts do? Finish his degree. And like my grandfather always used to say, which was always awesome, you start something, finish it. Jalen finished his time at Alabama with pride and with dignity and as a great teammate. His respect began there. I will say this one more time to you. You know, you could say all you want about how Hurts is where he is now, but I'm going to put it here to you. Sirianni and that coaching staff, the way that they have handled him and coached him is a testament to them not putting guardrails on him. I don't know if a lot of coaching staffs could have gotten what they got out of him. Remember this, Nick Saban couldn't. Nick Saban and Alabama failed him because they didn't know how to coach him. Sirianni's staff and Steichen and them, they put no guardrails on him. Jalen, go out and win. That's where you are. Now, I've got to sit here and I got to put this out here now. Merrill Reese, please. The legendary Merrill Reese joins us now. Merrill, this is your 4th Super Bowl now?
It is.
Okay. Hey, wait. You can't be that cavalier. You can't. Sorry, you just can't be that cavalier and go, hey, this is my 4th Super Bowl. You know, Dan, hey, you know.
Yeah, but I'm only 1 and 2.
Still, Merrill, what makes this game so fun for you? And is there anything? Now, obviously, you haven't been to Glendale yet till next week when it comes to the 4th Super Bowl, but some of the travels and some of the things that you've experienced in these games, just some stories, some things that maybe will always stick out for you going to these games.
You know, to be really honest with you, Dan, other than maybe trying to get around to golfing or something, all of the other stuff it's not that wonderful. All the crush of media, the media day where you have a million people running around, some asking the stupidest questions you've ever heard. Players who don't really want to be doing what they're doing that night, the 4th press conferences during the week. To me, it's all about the game and the fun of leading up to it. But that's what it's all about. The fact that it is the game to determine the champion of the year. That's what it is, to win the Lombardi Trophy. There was never a Super Bowl for me that compared with Super Bowl 52.
Oh, absolutely, because of the win and how that thing went down against the GOAT. But even the 1980 Super Bowl that you played against the Raiders, that whole buildup, Philly, I mean, to think where Vermeil had taken that organization from where it was 6 years earlier, and all of a sudden there you are, Merrill. I mean, you had beaten the Cowboys to get to that game. Surely that was a monumental moment for you.
Yeah, they had beaten the Raiders during the season.
Right.
And that was the team they faced in the Super Bowl, and there were a couple of unfortunate interceptions early in the game, and it turned early, and it was not a suspenseful game. The Raiders controlled that game, and they won it rather unfortunately easily. Jim Plunkett was the man, and the Eagles had a early touchdown called back by an illegal procedure. But that was a disappointing Super Bowl. I always tell people the greatest thing in the world is to get to a Super Bowl and win it and wake up the morning after the Super Bowl and you're floating. And the worst feeling in the world as a player, as a broadcaster, as a fan, is to wake up the morning after the Super Bowl where your team lost that game, where you went that distance and just didn't finish. There is no worse feeling in the world than to lose it. And you know what? I also remember, you're talking about memories. I remember getting on the plane in 1981 after they had just lost Super Bowl 15. And that was a bright young team. And Ron Jaworski had a great season. And they had Wilbur Montgomery, and they had great offensive linemen like Jerry Sizemore and Stan Walters. And they had great defensive players like Bill Berge. And they were great, and everybody got on the plane to come back. And the guys were saying, you know what? We know what it's all about. You have to experience these things. Next year, we're going to come back and win this thing. Well, that was 1981, and they didn't get another shot at it until, 2004. 2004. All those years. So you have an opportunity, and you've got to catch in.
Merrill, do you think that game was the end of Vermeil or the beginning of the end of Vermeil when they lost to the Raiders?
No. I think the players' strike, the following in 82.
Yeah, the 82 strike. I was in the 87 strike, so the 82 strike, right? I forgot about that.
I think that took a lot out of him. There was a lot of it really, really beat him down because he gave so much to that team, so much of himself, and he got to the point where that was the first time I ever heard the term used, burnt out. But he really was. And I thought he'd come back, take a rest, and come back a few years later. Well, he didn't come back for 14 years. But then he won the Super Bowl.
I know. And he was a hell of a broadcaster, too.
Oh,
how about this?
Great man. He's a great man.
I love Coach Vermeil. And, Mike Martz, I'll tell you a quick story about him and Kurt Warner. You're going to love this. So, Trent Green goes down. And Dick was on the hot seat because they hadn't really had a good year the year before. And he was on the hot seat going into that final season because they thought they had a lot of talent on that team with Marshall Faulk and all them guys. So all of a sudden he gets hurt in the preseason game, and every guy to the T, except for Martz and him. And all of a sudden they went around the table after he got hurt, and he goes like this. Martz goes, "What do you want to do, Dick? Do you want to trade for a quarterback? We're right here, man." All their jobs were on the line. And he looks at Martz and he goes, there's something about this Warner guy. There's just something about this guy. And you know what? I'm going to go with him. And right there in the room, everybody put their head down and thought the season was over. Guy goes out, has an MVP season, wins the MVP in the Super Bowl, and everyone couldn't believe. It just shows you how important, and I think there's some similarities between Vermeil and Sirianni when it comes to knowing a person, what buttons to push and what buttons not to push. Having personal relationships with people. You can drive somebody, Merrill, as hard as you can if you have a personal relationship with that guy, because that guy's not going to look at it as destructive. He'll look at it as constructive. Do you see those similarities between those two?
Yeah, I do. But you also repeated another story. That by the story you just gave, the example you just gave was when Carson Wentz went down in 2017, and in came Nick Foles, who was considered a backup. And Carson Wentz, at that point, I know what's happened since, but at that point, he was the favorite for the MVP of the league when he went down against the Rams. And Nick Foles came in and played a so-so game against the Giants and didn't play very well on a Christmas night game against the Raiders, and didn't play that well in the first playoff game against Atlanta. And then in the second half, he lit it up. They came within one Julio Jones catch of maybe losing that first round game. And then they came back in that game against Minnesota, and that was phenomenal. And Nick was the MVP of Super Bowl 52. So there's two cases where the quarterback went down. Now, it better not happen this time.
No way. I mean, it's one of the greatest iconic moments watching him and Foles in the Philly special. I'll never forget that moment.
I'm happy the Eagles won. I am. I'm thrilled that the Eagles won. I'm not happy with the way it occurred. I mean, I honestly can feel the frustration of the 49ers who had that young quarterback, Brock Purdy, pick it up and win 8 straight games, 6 in the regular season, 2 in the playoffs. And then early in this game, be knocked out of the game with an elbow injury that made him totally ineffective. He couldn't throw. He couldn't throw more than 5 yards. First time in all these years, Dan, that I'd done a game where in the second half, and of course, Josh Johnson, not that he's a great quarterback, but he couldn't come back because he was ruled out with concussion protocol. So the first time I've ever seen a team with nobody on the field who could throw the ball. Those fans, I understand the frustration that they felt. Their chance, they were over by halftime. It was over by halftime.
I tweeted out, Merrill. I said that as soon as Purdy went down, they had no chance to compete for that thing. And and you know what, too, Merrill? I said this. The Eagles didn't really play. I mean, if you take the 30-yard pass that wasn't a catch away, they had 239 yards in total offense, and they were just patient. They were going to wear them out. They didn't have to do anything spectacular.
They did what
they had. They didn't have to because they knew they could run the ball eventually in the second half. They got them in the third quarter. They ran them off the scoreboard, and so they didn't play high percentage turnover football. They were like this, Merrill. Why should I throw passes down the field, keep the 49ers going maybe with some 3 and outs, maybe a turnover? It doesn't make sense. They can't beat us. And so I was like this. I mean, you take the 30-yard pass away. Jalen has 93 yards passing and 42 yards rushing. They didn't have to be spectacular. Right, but it's a testament to that defense. It's a testament to that defense, Merrill. That kid, Hassan Reddick, he wrecked that game.
I don't know why he's not in consideration.
Holy cow.
Player of the year, because I've watched him week in and week out, and he's been amazing. He's been amazing. He does everything. He knocks down passes. He makes tackles. He had 16 sacks during the regular season. He picks up fumbles. He does everything. He's been the biggest factor on the defense.
Merrill, I have never seen anything like this since Pittsburgh. He has been shot out of a gun. He's a bullet. I mean, he destroyed that game, completely destroyed that game. I mean, the hits, the pressures. I mean, he's undefensible right now. And I said this, I don't care what anyone says. He's Howie Roseman's greatest free agent sign in the history of him running that team. There's not been anybody that has made bigger impact as a free agent than what that guy has done. And that's a testament to the coaching staff too, Merrill.
Yeah, Howie's done a great job, and he made some signings before that were very impactful. I mean, going back to that Super Bowl 52, picking up LeGarrette Blount. I mean, he was
huge red zone rushing. Absolutely.
What he meant was enormous. And now this year, it's not just the signing of Hassan, because he's the best. He is the number one. But I want to tell you other keys. Other keys were right before the season, adding C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who had 6 interceptions and still missed 4 or 5 games. And then when he picked up James Bradbury, who the Giants let walk, and James Bradbury has been the perfect pairing for Darius Slay. I mean, this defense, these were great moves. These were really great moves. Kaiser White has done a good job. It's been a terrific construction of a team. And then, of course, the draft night trade for A.J. Brown. It's unbelievable.
How about this too, Merrill? I said this earlier in the program. With the retirement of Brady, there's so many free agents that are going to be on this Eagle team. There's 16. Sayamalo, Kaiser White, TJ, CJ, all of them. You know what, Merrill? With the way the NFC's looking, maybe the Packers don't trade Rodgers to the Jets. If they do, think about the NFC. Dak, Stafford, who? I mean, the Eagles are so set up. They may lose some players, but as long as they do things right, and Howie's done them right, I mean, you could be looking at this thing here where you're going to have to go through Philadelphia for the next 3 years because the Eagles are ascending still because the quarterback doesn't make any money. You got draft equity, and the NFC has almost imploded. I mean, look at San Francisco's quarterback situation, Merrill. I mean, Purdy's not ready for 6 months. You got Trey Lance, Garoppolo's out of there. They're a headless horseman. This could be a decent run here for Philly for the next 3 years, and that's an eternity in the NFL. 3 years.
Yeah, you're saying that. I've seen columns to that effect that this is the team for the next 4 or 5 years, whatever. But I don't say that ever. I look at one thing and they have a game to win in a matter of days because it doesn't always happen the way it appears. You lose 2 or 3 free agents and they become free agents you really can't afford to lose. And then you have a key person or two knocked out by injuries. This game can be changed so quickly. Once in a blue moon, you have a pairing like Belichick and Brady, and you have a dynasty. Or once in a blue moon, you have the Steel Curtain, and you have a dynasty. Or you have Bill Walsh and Montana and Rice and Taylor and that whole group, and you have a dynasty. But it's very, very rare, and it's very difficult to project, particularly at the beginning. In 2001, when Donovan and Andy took the Eagles to their big playoff run, they took it to the NFC Championship game against the Rams in St. Louis, and the Eagles lost. And everybody figured, well, this is going to be the team to beat for a long time. And you know what? They went to 5 NFC Championship games and won Super Bowl and lost. And it was never the same.
Absolutely. Merrill, what's been the funnest ride for you, 17 or this ride?
Well, 17, because I know how it ended.
Take the ending out. The run.
I can't. All right. Which is if you want to change the question?
The run to the game. What was a funner run for you? 17 or this one?
They're all fun, but this was the better team. That was fun the way it worked out, but this is a more complete team. That was a good
Merrill,
team.
you think the 2022 team is better than the 17 team?
Yes, in terms of complete, top to bottom. I was on a talk show. They're not all fun like this. I was on a talk show last week out in San Francisco, and the host, Greg Papa, who's the voice of the 49ers.
Great guy. I've known Greg Papa. I worked with him at KBR.
Well, so he has me on, and he said to me, "Tell me, what are the Eagles' weaknesses?" And I thought for a second, and I said, "They don't have any overt weaknesses. I mean, they don't have any." And then he said, "Well, that's not what I wanted to hear." And he wrapped up the interview, and the engineer left my mic closed, but I could still hear him. And he said, "Well, I got rid of that guy. That's not what we want to hear." And that was the end of it. I'm thinking, well, this is reality.
Hold on, Merrill. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I worked at KBR for 6 years, and I know those producers too. What did they say to you?
They didn't say it to me. They said,
wait a minute. Yeah, they said it about you, and you heard this? Well, yes, Merrill, you just started a shit war with me now. I am going to kill Greg Papa for this. I mean, nobody disrespects the Bear. Nobody disrespects the Bear, Merrill.
He popped in the booth on Sunday and gave me a big hug. That's all.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. But I mean, he couldn't stand to hear that the Eagles had no weaknesses. Now, listen, they have no weaknesses. I think they're a better team than Kansas City. As we look at the rosters, as we look at starting positions, they're a better team than Kansas City. That doesn't mean they're going to win. the better team doesn't always win. Things happen in the course of a game. An injury here, a bad bounce there, a call that went the wrong way. And so many things happen in the
An
course
injury.
I'll tell you this. The Eagles have floated through these two games. The Giants were nowhere near them, and they just ran them. They just wrecked them quickly. And then usually I make my wife nervous. She hates when I deem a game over before it's over because she said you can't do that. And, so many times it happens. But this time there were 43 seconds left in the third quarter. 43 seconds left in the third quarter. And I dared to say there are 15 minutes and 43 seconds left in this game, separating the Eagles from Super Bowl 57. They're going to the Super Bowl. In the third quarter, I said that. And even Mike he said, you're a little bold. I said, bold? They're up 28-7 at that point. And the 49ers have nobody who can throw the ball. It was over. It was over. That's not going to happen here. I don't care. I don't care if they wrap if they wrap Patrick Mahomes' legs in duct tape and he has to hop around like a kangaroo. This is going to be a game because he is so magnificent. He is so creative that he will keep that team in the game. That game could go down to the final seconds the way Super Bowl 52 went. They're Kansas City, and Andy's a great coach. Nick's done a terrific job too. Andy's a great coach, but he'll have this whole thing plotted out.
Well, real quick before I get to my couple last questions here, you saved Greg Papa a lot of embarrassment just now. I'm glad he came in because I know him very well, and I'd have kicked his ass on the air, and I would have got him good for that.
I forgive him, Dan.
Okay, you forgive him? Okay, then I'm good too. So if you're all right with it, I'm all right with it. Facing Andy Reid, I said this about this Kansas City team, Merrill. I went like this. The D-line, okay, you got Chris Jones, and then kind of the kid from Purdue. You're not taking out that Eagle O-line. I mean, there's three Pro Bowlers on it, and the guy was hurt this year. Could have been a Pro Bowler. I mean, then you look at the running game. Kansas City doesn't have a running game. You look at the linebackers. They're not very good at linebackers, so it's a push. The back end, you got two rookies. You got two rookies sitting there. At cornerback position. You're going to guard A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I mean, the thing that I think that makes it a game, Merrill, is that Kelsey, Mahomes, and Reid, those three guys are first ballot Hall of Famers. If they can get Kelsey loose and they can get any type of running game going, it'll be close. But in my opinion, I don't see the advantage that Kansas City has. If they can't get a running game going and Mahomes can't move around, I don't know. I mean, I think the 49ers are a better team.
Well, better defense for sure.
Well, I mean, look, they got Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and Ayuk, and they couldn't get to any of them because they had no quarterback. Kansas City has none of that.
No.
So to me, like you said, it's really Andy Reid. How do you feel about facing Andy Reid here? I mean, this is the Andy Reid Bowl. You spent so many years with him. You got to be a little conflicted. I know your heart and where it is, but still, it's your friend.
Listen, I texted him the minute they won the game and congratulated him. And I said, I'm looking forward to seeing you. And at 2:32 in the morning, Andy texted me back and said, congratulations, Merrill. Looking forward to seeing you. He's a great man. So, but listen, you know where my heart lies. There's no doubt about it. I'm not a homer ever. I don't root.
No, listen to your broadcast. You're more of a homer with me than you are on your own broadcast. Hey, I'm driving in the car. We got you on Sirius. I'm listening to, I go like this. I looked over at my wife. I go, he'll say the most critical stuff on the air. I ask him, he goes, we got to go here. And I'm going like this. Wait a minute. Man, you see the game through your prism of what you're seeing now. And it's because of the equity you've built up in that market for all these great legendary years that you can just give people the game. Merrill, I think so many broadcasters make themselves the game, you're one of the very last people that gives the game on how you see it through your prism. And it's right on. I mean, it's right on. That's a true testament to you never wanting to be the star.
Well, it's a testament to me having great respect for our audience and wanting to share with them what is really going on. If it's a bad call that happened to go against the opposition, I will say it. And if it's the Eagles were lucky on a call, I will say that too. Or if they're not playing particularly well, I never run anybody down. But if a guy should have made the catch, I'm going to say he should have made that catch.
You've been critical on special teams this year, and so have I. I'm like this.
Sure.
To me, this year, the Eagles, it was like a guy hitting a fungo bat and watching a guy with pop-ups. I mean, catching the ball in the 8-yard line, dude, let that go in. Maybe it goes into the end zone. You're still starting in horrible field position, whether it's the 8 or the 7. They've got to rectify that in the offseason. And you're critical of that because special teams has put them sometimes, like it did early in that NFC title game, it put them in bad field position.
Yeah, but you know what? They've gotten better. They have made some adjustments.
They have.
They brought up a guy named Christian Ellis from the practice squad, and he's done great things. And they have another kid to watch out for, and he's really good. He really shows you something. Number 27. Watch out for number 27, Zach McPherson. He is something special on special teams. He could make a big play in this game that impacts it. 27, Zach McPherson.
Okay, I'm going to leave you with this here, and I want you to comment on it here. So here's your predictions. Doug Peterson's going to be the Coach of the Year candidate. By the way, Trevor Lawrence is going to make the Pro Bowl. All true happened. and you're like this. Keep an eye on Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell. These guys here. And I realized something in the first half of that NFC title game. Miles, as great a season as he has, he's not those two guys getting out in the perimeter. And Gainwell and Boston are faster. So they were able to get down and break down the edges. They saw that. That's why Gainwell, I think this, Gainwell has played exceptionally well in both the Giant game and in the 49er game. And they were critical yards, Merrill. He has to have impressed people.
Yeah, he's been great. And Boston Scott, we call him the Giant Killer, but he scored another touchdown this week against the 49ers. He is, shot from a gun. He comes out of a cannon.
He sure does. Oh, okay. One last thing here, and I'm going to sneak this in on you. There is a new Philadelphia treasure. Her name is Taylor Sirianni. I don't know if you've seen the video yet of the look. Do me a favor. After this, and then text me. It's the little daughter sitting there at the press conference. Mm-hmm. When the father's talking about 3rd and 4, she goes like this. She's mimicking her father. Good Morning America, Yahoo Sport, everybody, 18 million views. She is a new Philadelphia. Her father goes like this. Hey, what we're trying to do is and she's going, we're just trying to do everything we can. And finally, Sirianni goes, Taylor, stop it. Please stop it. Please stop it. The other 3 kids are going like this. They're pulling their faces. Everyone look ahead. Everyone look ahead. And I go, this is why this guy should be Coach of the Year. Because those 3 people he has on his desk right now are harder than anything he has in front of him.
Yeah. You're right. Somebody sent me a video today, Dan, and I don't like to blow my own horn or anything, but I got the biggest kick out of it. It's you can Google it. It's on Paramount or something. It's out there. It's Fletcher Cox, and the seconds are ticking down, and he's sitting on the bench, and the 2 guys with him, and he says, "Boy," he said, "we're going to the Super Bowl," and then he says, "Boy, I'd like to hear Merrill Reese say it." I was hysterical.
I love it, Merrill. Merrill, another legendary ride for you, and no one calls it better than you. And you know what? People used to always go, "Hey," before I started talking Philly sports, people were like this. How you got? And I've had you on years ago with all my other shows. You've been on when I was in Los Angeles and everywhere else down in Miami. But man, I'll tell you what, listening to you call those games, man, it's personal, and you make those games personal. I enjoy listening to you, man. I just hope you keep going. And I just hope you keep doing it, man. I can't wait for what
I'm
we
not
see.
going anyplace. I'm not going anyplace. I love it.
By the way, 31-17 Eagles. I don't care. I'm burying it right now.
Woo!
Yeah.
Woo!
I think it's 30.
Going to be a lot closer than that.
I don't know, man. I want
All right.
Mahomes ain't healthy. I think Reddick is going to wreak havoc. They should call that Hassan Wreck-It, not Reddick.
He does it, but he hasn't rushed the likes of Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes ran the ball to set up the winning field goal. Of course,
He did.
Personal foul the penalty was big too. And keep in mind that he's got 2 weeks to rest and come back even stronger. So listen, I love your prediction. Love it. But it's not going to make me sleep any better.
Hey, Merrill, thank you for all your valuable time, and it's really
my pleasure.
Oh, it's an honor to have you so much. Thank you, my friend.
Okay, take care.
You got it. The legendary Merrill Reese, man. I love talking to that man, and I'll tell you what, you guys in Philly, it is so awesome to listen to him and Mike Quick call games, man. They do such a great job. That's such a fabulous team. And how they call it, man. Yeah, hey, I don't mean any. Hey, listen, you know me. I'm Mr. Pessimist. Am I not? You guys all know this. I'm a pessimist at heart. Okay? That's how I do my show. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and tell you some bullshit and go, I think Kansas City's got massive matchups where they favor them. I don't see it. I don't see it, man. Hey, it must just be me. But oh yeah, Harry Callis used to come. Hey, Harry Callis used to come on my show all the time. I forgot I was friends with him. Holy cow, Harry Callis used to be Todd Callis, just so you know, and I are best friends. Oh, Todd Callis and I, because Todd called the Tampa Bay Ray games for a while. Yeah. Oh, that's right. And when I know how I met Harry Callis. I met him in Clearwater. Does that make sense to you guys? Why does that make sense? I met Harry Callis in Clearwater. Why do I say I met Harry Callis in Clearwater? What was I doing? What was I doing that I met Harry Callis in Clearwater, Florida? That's right, William. That's where I met Francona. Francona was, that's right. That's right. Baseball, that's it. That's right. And then I met Todd through that because Todd introduced me to his dad because he was working for the Rays. Thank you, guys. Thank you. That's right. Philly's minor league is in Clearwater, Florida. It's a great complex, too. I've been there a billion times. I've actually called games from there. It's a great complex. The Yankees, the Blue Jays are in Dunedin. Yankees are on Del Mabry. Phillies are in Clearwater. Pirates and Astros are in Kissimmee. Braves are in Orlando. I've been to every one of them. Got to take a time out. Hour 3. Keep it here on the National Football Show.